you.
And Sue, I don't see Sharon on. Can you take minutes?
I will.
Thank you.
Okay, to reiterate, since we started recording late, we have a quorum, just taking a roll call. And I just want to update all present that last night we held a public hearing on zoning bylaw changes to be submitted to special town meeting on June 11th. The planning board received a lot of valuable input from the public. Last night we closed the public input portion of the hearing, and the planning board subsequently went into the deliberation portion. The deliberation portion was suspended last night due to the late hour. Tonight, we will be continuing the deliberation portion of the public hearing. Bear with me while I read this into the record. The public hearing notice has been duly noticed and advertised in the Cricket to see if the town will amend the general bylaws to include sections regulating junk cars, curb cuts, and the allowance of commercial and landscaping material, the storage of boats in the setback, and stormwater management. These regulations are moving from the zoning bylaws with minor modifications to see if the town will amend the zoning bylaws as follows. Delete sections 8.5 junk cars, delete section 6.15 stormwater management special permit, delete section 6 and curb cuts, delete sections 1 through 4 and replace them with section 1 purpose and authority, section 2 definitions, section 3 districts, and section 4 use regulations in their entirety to provide greater clarity, to add definition, to insert a table of uses, to allow swimming pools by right, provided they meet zoning criteria, and to clarify specified allowed uses and accessory uses. Delete section 7 administrative and delete section 7 blank and add a new section 12 administration. To clarify administrative requirements, add a section about review of Dover amendment cases, add a section about reasonable accommodations, and define the makeup and the role of the planning board. Delete section 6.1 non-conforming use and add a new section 7 non-conforming uses that revises and expands regulations to allow more flexibility in approving modifications of reuses of properties that are not in compliance with zoning regulations by allowing the zoning board of appeals greater discretion, allowing non-conforming uses that are less detrimental to the town, and make this section consistent with case law. Delete section 6 special provisions and replace it with a new section 6 special provision to renumber the section. Remove redundant sections, create a comprehensive set of special permits and site plan review standards, change special permit and site review regulations to performance-based regulations where possible, make other modifications, delete site plan and special permit requirement in compliance with case law, and change stormwater regulations to reference those in the general bylaw. Delete section 9.2 residential conservation cluster and replace it with a new section 9.2 residential conservation cluster to remove the minimum lot size for residential conservation clusters and specify density bonuses for deeded affordability, open space, or town amenities. Amend the table of uses in section 4 to add senior housing by special permit in all districts. Add section 9.3 senior housing to provide regulations that allow by special permit the development and use of alternative housing and nursing care for seniors, and to create healthcare, housing, and other supportive services for the senior population in all districts. Add section 8.6 adult entertainment establishments to provide regulations of said establishments by special permit of the zoning board of appeals. Replace section 9.1 special housing provisions with a new section 9.1 accessory dwelling units in single residential district, in single residence districts. This section will reduce the area needed for this use, require that the use be attached to a primary residence, require registration of the units with the building inspector, allow the building inspector to issue permits for this use, and when they comply with regulations. New units that do not meet the criteria will require a special permit from the zoning board of appeals. The number of accessory dwelling units will be capped at 20 per year, and existing units will be grandfathered. Two more, delete accessory use number 7 as part of an existing garage, stable, or other existing structure, family living quarters for an employee of the owner / occupant from the table of uses in section 4. And modify accessory use number 6, accessory dwelling unit, in the table of uses in section 4 to Y/ZBA in residential districts A, B, C, E, and the general district. I now would like to have a motion to continue the deliberation, to open and continue the deliberation portion of the public hearing.
Oh, excuse me, so moved.
Second,
Seconded.
Ms. Creighton,
Yes.
Ms. Foley, Ms. Foley,
Sorry, yes.
Mr. Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Olney,
Yes.
Ms. Tenney.
Yes.
The chair votes yes, 6-0 to open the continuation of deliberations. At this time, I would like to have Vice Chair Sarah Creighton lead with the topics that still need to be vetted and voted.
Okay, can I share?
I'm sorry.
Okay, so no problem. So welcome, everybody. A little bit hard to figure out what exactly we need to, how exactly to proceed tonight. So hopefully I've got it right. I talked to Greg, and what he wants to have us do is instead of having, well, first of all, I think everybody picked up a packet, right? Did everybody get a chance to get that? Okay, that was
Yes.
complete except for the Article 2 somehow didn't get copied. So we'll talk about that one using the screen. So we're going to refer to this packet, the line numbers, and as we talk. Greg does not want to put this entire missive in as the article. He wants to have the articles be a short summary similar to the public notice that Ron just read. And then the packet that we have before of us is actually not articles, but is motions. Alan, does that make sense to you? I knew you were busy this afternoon, so I didn't bug you. Is he on?
I think Alan's on. Alan, you're on mute. You're on
I'm
mute.
sorry,
Alan.
Sarah. I was out of the room while Ron was reading the notice.
Oh, well, that's okay. So
I didn't
So
hear
the
it.
example is that the article would be to see if the town, I put an example here, see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws and replace them section 1, 2, 3, 4 for the purposes of blah, blah, blah. And then the motion would be, I move to amend the zoning bylaws sections 1, 2, 3, 4 and replace them with new sections as follows. And that would be the handout people would at town meeting would have that handout. Greg said we needed to approve our final motions concurrent with approving the articles and make the motions available on the website and at town hall.
I agree with all of that except for concurrent. I don't think you need to have you need to have the articles to the Board of Selectmen so that they can vote to approve them at their meeting on the 24th. The motions don't need to accompany them necessarily. They could come later.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. So
But I would like to reserve on that answer just to check with Greg. I don't think he's on this call, is he?
no, that's fine.
No.
I think that's fine for tonight. Okay. So
Does the FinCom have to also endorse?
Only if there are financial implications for the town, meaning, I mean, they're required to comment on articles with financial implications, not financial implications in terms of growth of property values or whatever, but financial implications meaning expenditures or potential expenditures.
okay.
Okay.
All right. So I think our strategy remains the same. It means that our motions could still get proofread in a few extra days. But I think my goal here is to next Monday is to have the article can certainly get approved. And I'd like tonight to kind of move things to their near final conclusion. So I think we can be a little shorter tonight than I
The-
had.
The hand, we should talk a bit about how to inform the voters. If
Sure.
if this is an appropriate time to do that.
Sure, we can do that.
Sure.
Let me stop sharing for a second. Greg and I actually talked about an idea there. So
Yeah.
do you want to?
And Greg and I have talked too. What's the most recent
Okay.
discussion you've had?
So Greg and I, he suggested sort of a pamphlet, like the table that we have on the website or some version of that. And then today I said to him, why don't we send a postcard that has a link to the website? We can have the motions there on the website and also a town hall. And we could also make we could take the video of the public hearing, cut out the public comment, and people could watch that fascinating roadshow.
Yeah.
And or it might be faster just to make a new one, but nonetheless, some version of that. And so that was the latest that we came up with.
Okay.
And then postcard will go to all postal customers.
I think that's good. I think that the handout that needs to be available at town meeting should contain the motions with all of their detail. In other words, word for
Yes.
word, the
Yes.
changes that are going to be adopted. So that if people want to propose amendments, and are you going to have line numbers? So,
Yep.
so that-
I should have dropped off a packet with you for you. But yes, we will get you a packet.
Okay,
that-
great. So people will have in their hands the actual language of the amendments.
Mhm.
And-
And
Go ahead.
the other thing that Greg and I talked a little bit about is that town meeting, whether or not, rather than doing slides, because then you run the risk of people not being able to read them or see them, is to take really the most confusing ones are the non-conforming use, residential cluster, senior housing, and ADUs, and take the tables that we showed in our presentation, make sure they're correct, make any edits to them that are necessary, and include them with the motions to try to summarize those motions.
So what would be on the screen would be the summary.
He suggested not even using the screen, but simply having it be paper.
Well, I think those tables could probably, we have, I believe we have the capability to toggle between a presentation from the planning board and the voting software.
So we can kind of,
So
can
let me
we
finish.
table that piece?
Let me finish.
Yeah.
So if we can do that, I think those tables are pretty explanatory and would be visible. We're
Okay.
going to be testing the video capability on, I think it's Wednesday of next week.
Correct.
And so if you could have even just dummy slides available to do that we could toggle between, we can see if that'll actually be visible, but I think that might be helpful.
Okay. I think we have, we can test that next week and then make a final determination. So
Did I include you in the emails on the time for that?
yes,
test?
I'm going to be unavailable, but Ron's going to go.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go, I'll try to get on some drive or something, the slides.
Good.
Okay.
I hope that'll work. I assume.
So, to
So-
this end, I would like to take a motion to authorize Chris and Sue and me to just design a postcard to go to all voters. As we've done with presentations, we'll put a draft up for everyone to see, make comments. It'll be very simple, pointing people to the website and work to get it to all postal customers. So I'll take a motion for that.
So moved. Is there a
Brett?
second?
Seconded.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, Ron,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes,
Laura,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Gary, sorry.
Very clear.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. Okay, great. Great, thank you, Alan. So I think we have concurrence that we're gonna, so if there's, so the article, I think everybody knows the difference. An article is advises the town what the topic is going to be, and the motion is the actual procedural vote. So that's the example. So, so the packet that you have today in front of you describes everything as an article. So, you know, you can take each of those and change it from article to motion, and it should say, I'm looking at proposed article 5. I move that to amend, you know. Okay, so pretend that that's what they all say. All right. The other thing is that the article numbers that I have put in this packet are our article numbers. We don't know for sure if there will be another article or two before or after. If they're before, then all of ours shift by one number. So for tonight's purposes, we're going to use the numbering that is in the packet, recognizing that that numbering might change in the final town meeting warrant. All right, makes sense?
Alan has his hand raised.
Oh, Alan, go ahead.
Thanks, Sarah. The packet that I have, which I got from Sharon today at Town Hall, doesn't have numbers for the articles. Am I behind a step there?
Doesn't have article numbers? What did you
Yeah.
get?
Well,
Perhaps it was in the cover page.
right.
Oh, I didn't give them the coverage page.
Oh, it should start with sections 1. Oh, sections 1 through 4 doesn't have an article number. If you go to the next one.
Oh, okay, all right.
Sorry.
I haven't had it. It was very helpful of Sharon to give it to me today, and I appreciate that. I haven't had a chance to look at it other than the first page, so.
Yep, okay, so it's the first one doesn't have the article number, everything else
Okay.
does. It should be in the
Alright.
footer, actually.
There will only be one other article, as I understand it, and that is a friendly taking of land on Loading Place Road for affordable housing purposes. I don't know if the selectmen had even talked about where to place the articles. My hunch is they'll probably put that first, but I don't know that for sure.
And in the packet that you got today, everybody, the Article 2 is not included, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Was that gonna be your point, Laura?
I mistakenly thought Article 3 and 4 were also not included, but I see they're printed on the back side of a page, so
Yep, okay.
just Article 2.
So tonight I'm hoping we can create a final version of the substantive changes by Friday night, if we can have any proof typos and so forth. The final versions I'll try to get on before Sunday on SharePoint, although this new information that the motions don't have to be finalized by Monday, except if we have to finalize them subsequently, we'd need another meeting. So let's try to do them Monday. You know, that's the other issue. It's like we got to post another meeting if we don't do them Monday. So let's try to get them done Monday. So on Monday, I envision motions to ask the town to advance as written the articles that it will be dated May 23rd, and that we'll have a motion to approve any remaining, basically any motions for town meeting. I don't think we'll get them final tonight. So let's dig in here to the outstanding issues. If you have typos, please, let's not spend our time tonight on typos. Please, you can email me them if there are a few. If there are a lot, which I'm sure there are, you know, a bunch, please, let's give me the paper copy so that it's much easier for me to deal with a paper copy at this stage. Even if I have 10 copies, I consolidate them and then I'll put them in, or I'll have Pauline do that or somebody do that. So it seems to me that we didn't hear any changes on sections on Article 1, which is sections 1 through 4. I've skipped over Article 2. Article 3, I propose that we add language that said, provided that article, whatever the number is approved to amend the general bylaws on related topics, or some such language. I need to I just added that in. Greg and and Sharon were talking today, and there is some risk that if the AG didn't approve that general bylaws change, then we'd be stuck. So the thought was just add a provision on those deletions that the general bylaws would be amended. That is the Article 2. Article 2 is to amend the general bylaws.
Sarah, I have questions with Article 1.
Okay, great. Why don't we come back to that? Go ahead.
So
Can I, sorry, before you start, Mary, sorry. If you have, if we have questions, if you have suggestions, it would be great if you can make them as motions. But certainly if you have questions, go for it.
well, yeah, maybe a question becomes a motion. I don't know. I don't see a definition for commercial vehicle.
So then there isn't a definition for commercial vehicle. I believe a commercial vehicle is a regulatory, you have a commercial plate, right?
Well, I believe it's in our use table, so I think we're defining it in some way. The parking of one commercial vehicle. So are we going with a state definition?
There is a state definition
Yeah, I mean,
under Mass
What's
Gov.
the state definition?
Let me try to get it for you. One moment here. The Mass Department of Transportation defines commercial vehicles requiring commercial plates as any motor vehicle which is not a private passenger motor vehicle, antique motor car, motorcycle, trailer, semi-trailer, auto home, house trailer, taxi cab, ambulance, hearse, or livery vehicle. Now that's saying 2017, so I'd want to make sure I had the most up to date. This is just a quick check. But it looks like there ought to be a state definition that we can refer to.
So it has to have a commercial plate.
According to this first reference I found.
Okay, all right, I'll look that up. So it looks sounding like ambulances and things like that. So I just,
Sorry, Mary, ambulances were not included in this. So any motor vehicle which is not ... ambulance, etc.
okay. So I do think we should have a definition, but you know, if others don't, that's fine. I did thought we had the discussion of taking out the definitions that we don't actually have anything for. So there must have been a discussion to keep them in that I missed.
we had a discussion. We did not have a resolution to remove them. We did not have a, we did not move or, did not have a vote to remove them. So if you want to make a motion to remove them, and then we can figure out which ones they are, we can do that.
I thought I had sent you a list of those.
You probably did. I'm sure you did. We also added in a bunch too. So it's my opinion that it doesn't hurt to have them, because in the future, they were obviously came from Mark Bobrowski's experience with various, I assume that's where they came from. They predate me, this list mostly. So.
Okay, so moving on from definitions, if we go to section,
Actually, on definitions, weren't we going to add something about solar as a definition?
I looked at that. Solar, we have a section on solar in 11, and I didn't see definitions that made sense to move forward. So I kind of, that was not,
Okay.
we didn't agree to that. That was just a comment from John. Rowland.
Comment from the public.
I think we're
Okay.
fine on that.
Okay. Go ahead, Mary, sorry.
oh no, that's okay. So section 4.3.2 residential accessory uses, 4.3.2.1. The borders in a single family dwelling, and I think it's clear, it's more clearly defined in the use table, but somehow the with common cooking facilities and living facilities was taken out.
Okay.
So does that get added in, or do I need to make a motion?
It should get added in, shouldn't, I don't know how it got added. Can you add that back in for me and put it in the
Yeah, no,
somebody help, I guess I'll do it. Never mind. Sorry. Okay, hold on. Four point three point,
2.
2.1.
and what line number? That would be helpful. That's why we have the line numbers, right?
The quarantine of,
Line 520, 516.
yeah, it starts at 516.
It's to the end of 518, no?
Yeah, it's 516 to 518.
Yep.
I don't know exactly where in the sentence you'd want to add it back in. Let me see.
Kind of. So,
Because what we had simply said, the taking of boarders or the leasings of room for not more than 4 persons by a family residing on the premises with common cooking and living facilities, providing there are no signs or display to advertise.
so right here, we have, oh, why is that not
Yeah.
changing? Darn it. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I track change so you can see. Track change. No.
There you go.
With
With,
common cooking facilities and living facilities. I think the whole sentence
by
doesn't.
the owner. Oh, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
A single family dwelling shall be permitted. Don't we want to get rid of that? Whereas not more than 4 persons, in a single family dwelling with common cooking and living facilities shall be a permitted accessory use. I don't need those comma. I guess I do.
yeah, and what we currently have, so I think you want this clarity, is that by a family residing on the premises.
Mhm.
You do want it owner occupied.
Yeah, okay.
Just a small point. There is a substantive change you're making there by deleting by the owner occupant thereof. Because if a single family dwelling were rented, you only, under the existing language, only the owner occupant would be allowed to have boarders. By deleting that language, you're allowing a tenant of a single family dwelling to have boarders.
Right.
So our current bylaw states that it has to be with the family residing at the.
But that's
um,
not owner.
OSBJ.
That is quite different than what we have now.
I don't think well, I'll speak for myself, but I think it would be a hard sell to say you have renters take then boarders.
Right, so now we have, so right now what I'm proposing here is the renting of rooms or furnishing of board for not more than 4 persons in a single family dwelling with common cooking and living facilities shall be permitted use by the, provided the owner occupant lives on the premises.
Sarah, why don't you just say boarders in a owner occupied single family dwelling?
Okay, yeah, all right, thank you.
Right.
thank you.
There's something else on the same page when you're done.
Owner is misspelled, owner occupied.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know why I'm interfering in this conversation because
No,
it's
it's
really not
helpful.
my role.
Please.
I'm gonna
interject.
mute myself.
No. Okay, go on, Mary.
So F,
Sorry, owner occupied should be hyphenated, just to make that clear. Thank you.
where it says any swimming pools that do not satisfy the above criteria A through E.
Mhm. Yep, thank you.
And then jumping to the use table.
Okay, let me just change the state. Okay.
My question, well, I have a bunch of questions on this, but my first question is, we don't have senior housing on here, yet we have other items that haven't been voted on yet either, so.
So did you read the senior housing bylaw says to add a row?
Okay,
And
okay. So then under
So, and
D-
just to follow up on that, accessory dwelling units, this one right here, multifamily dwellings with more, no, wait, where's accessory dwelling units?
yeah, that's still
seven.
under CBA
It's
approval.
it's seven here.
It's E6.
E6, yeah. Oh, it's, okay, that's good, because it's seven on the, it's a seven in the amendment. So the amendment on that accessory dwelling unit says to, just so you know, says to see if the town will delete accessory use number 7, so it should be number 6. As part of an existing garage stable, blah, 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 from the table of uses.
Well, that's a different thing, Sarah, I think.
No, it's to delete it from this table of uses.
Oh, is it
But-
on this table of uses?
Yeah, right here, accessory dwelling unit.
Well,
Let's go
that's
down and
different
see what
from
number
employee
7 is.
units.
That's
Let's
what?
go down.
That's number 7.
There it
Oh.
is. It is number 7.
Okay, and then we actually have to modify that one too. Oh yeah, I did say that, number 6, modify number 6. Yep, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
that's right.
smarter than I think. I'm gonna look. All right.
You're
Okay.
smarter than you think.
Yep. I also, this is highlighted because I thought it should probably be a note, but then I ran out of steam. Because I have to renumber all the other notes. These two, okay. All right, Mary, these are highlighted because I wanted to check them. I see those as ministerial, those things, just to go to section 11 and make sure I got them right. That's why they're highlighted.
So D9 is no's across the board. I'm questioning, why do we have it in there?
E9.
I assume we have it in there because it was specified in section 4 previously.
I believe that is the one that we took out. Is that the one that we took out?
Oh, right. You're right. We did.
So
Okay.
we should remove that. We should have,
Yep.
It's gonna mess up the numbering.
I know. I actually want to remove the numbers.
that may be why we didn't take it out.
That's not a good reason.
So,
So I'll have to renumber no, I don't have to renumber things. Okay.
a quick question with the D2 and 3, and I'm sure we talked about it, but the doctor's office, I mean, why wouldn't we have yeses in the limited commercial district for that? I know it says for no more than 3, but I would assume you could have.
I think any use in the LCD requires some sort of special permit.
Yeah.
But then it should be PB or ZBA.
Okay, well, let's check that.
D13, under limited commercial district. Currently, that falls under the planning board.
Yeah, I told you, I said I have to check those because I had
Oh,
them
I'm
all,
sorry. Okay,
had them all as those, and so we need to check those three.
okay. E8. I feel like I'm playing bingo.
I know.
E8. We don't currently allow. So it says customary home occupation conducted in a dwelling or building accessory. Our current, well, at least my old current 4.1.8 says you don't have the same, you can't do the same things in an accessory dwelling unit you can do in the primary.
No, it says you
doesn't.
can. The
This,
opposite.
this doesn't say an accessory dwelling. It says, or building accessory thereto.
Right. And then note 14 is provided no visible display of goods from the street, no exterior advertising except a sign more than 2 feet square. Provide such occupation to be provided, and provided such occupation shall not be carried on in an accessory building. So I think Mary's right. Note contradicts our table. So
Did
Do we
that come
care?
directly out? Did that come directly out of our? other
yeah, that
language?
came directly out of our original bylaw. We might want to change that, but let's be true to our, at least for the moment, to our, and then say, do we care if it's an accessory? Do we want to keep the, I would be inclined to, we've sort of represented that we're not changing things, so I would be inclined to keep it as we have in our current.
I think it seems to me that we discussed that and said, why wouldn't you want it where wouldn't you want to be able to do that in your garage if you, which is
I
considered
think something like
accessory.
that has to be very highlighted, and especially surrounding the ADU conversation. I don't recall ever saying that we were going that direction.
Yeah, I don't specifically recall it, but I don't know why we would change it.
So I think that we could change it in the future. I guess I feel like at this point that is a change. And one of the things that I learned last night from Sarah was that, you know, a garage or a shed in the back that's on the setbacks is not a problem to the neighbors. You start having your office with people coming and going there, maybe it becomes a little bit a different use, and in some instances might be considered to be, you know, more of a nuisance or something. Alan, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Sarah. I'm just wondering if you're going to be addressing topics that I should continue to be on for relating to town meeting.
We're
or
going to be
presentation.
nitpicking this stuff. We're going to be nitpicking this stuff. So
Well, I have to tell you, I am overwhelmingly impressed by the level of detail that you guys are going into in addressing all these things, and with such a comprehensive approach. I'm glad I'm not on the planning board, frankly. But I want to thank you all for the attention and detailed examination you're giving to all these changes. It's just great.
thanks for all your help and support.
Okay, anything I can do, let me know, but I'm going to sign off then.
Do I have any motion to leave the accessory use in, or should we leave it at, or one way or the other? I guess I'm going to ask for a motion to strike it in being consistent with our existing bylaw. Does anybody?
Before we do, I want to read you
Okay.
bylaw 4.1.9.
All right.
I knew there was something about this. Accessory use on the same lot with and customarily incident to any of the above permitted uses, or to the uses permitted in accordance with the following section, and not detrimental to a residential neighborhood, they would be allowed.
But Chris, then it specifies the, that gets back into that ADU, like the stable or the garage or,
Well, there's a whole bunch of things, yeah, not just that. Well, the garaging, well, maybe, yeah, never mind.
It's a
think
mess. That's why we need the table.
I think Mary is right. I
It's
think,
just, it's too complicated to figure out.
I think it's the perfect and the good.
I'll second it.
Okay, let's strike this. Any other discussion?
I don't think-
All right, all in favor, Mary,
yes.
Chris,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes.
Laura?
Yes,
Okay, on we go.
don't forget Gary.
Gary, sorry, Gary, you don't have your face in my screen.
2 times, Sarah. Yes.
Sorry, it's not intentional. I have 4 boxes and it doesn't have you. Sorry. Just yell at me. Okay. Other things, Mary, on 4?
That's it for now.
Good. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. Oh, wait a minute, let me just save this because if I,
Oh, you had some question marks in the use table though as well.
they need to get, those can get just, what's their date? May 18th. And those can get just referenced back. Maybe you can help me with that. Okay, sorry. The reason I'm dating these, trying to make sure I'm dating them carefully, is that we're now going to start so it's May 13th is on 18th versions. Oh, it's the May 18th version, actually. Okay. And with the, so
I did have one other quick question. Under 4.3.2, we seem to have dropped off some of the residential accessory uses. I'm just wondering why.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound.
is that here or who's?
Not me.
it's someone calling in on a phone.
Now I'm trying to find where we had it, but we had other,
Mary,
there
I
was,
think, sorry.
They all ended up in the table.
Yeah,
I think they are in the table. I just didn't know what
that was-
was consistent, but
I think we updated some of the language of accessory uses just to make it more broad and to make it more current, because there were things like millinery and those type of uses. I think we just updated it, but I think it broadly captures all of those type of things.
okay.
Okay. So the 9th version plus the check of the wind and solar, and any administrative, we're going to vote all these again as once I give you a final packet. I just want to know that we've got agreement that we're moving ahead. Article 4, which is, so Article 3, as I said, is to remove the zoning changes that would be subsumed by the general bylaws. We haven't talked about the general bylaws ones yet. Article 4 is to renumber 7 to 12 and 6.1 to 7. And section 6, I know I need to delete the little stray voltage there on line 36. But is there any other changes? And Mark Bobrowski noted a line 98 should be section 6.3. But are there any other changes to section 6? Hearing Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta find mine. It was minor, but it was having to do with view sheds. Just a clarification.
Did you send me that?
Yes, the majority is in section 12, but there's also a small, an addition of a couple of words in
Pound to continue.
section
Okay,
6.
I might have, let me just,
You are in the
Well-
meeting now. There are 6 participants.
all right, can some, let's see, Ron, do you have control here? Or,
He was
He's
just,
Gary
he was,
trying to put
I
them
think you just muted.
I just muted them person.
Thanks, Ron.
I will continue to monitor.
I can find it again quickly.
no, I know you, and I thought I copied all that stuff in. Maybe I skipped that one, I'm sorry.
Okay, it was minor and quick. Just bear with
Okay.
me for a moment. I'll pull it up.
I'm sorry, I thought I put them
Alright.
all. Sorry, I'm scrolling around here. Okay, section 6. If you can give me the line number.
I will try to do that. Just a moment. Okay.
Oh, you know what? It's
6.3.7 is the section. And what is the line number?
That's all right.
6.3.7. Okay, under site development standards. Where the heck is this gone? Sorry, I was looking, maybe I was looking at a prior section 6 and it's been renumbered. Sorry, Sarah. Let me just.
But when you come
get
back,
organized here and I'll-
I'm gonna
get
pull
the-
lines, I'm gonna pull this out. I'm gonna give all this to you, Sharon, at the end of this. So. And I was wrong about that line 98, that was in a different section.
Find it when you're ready.
Okay, yep.
Line 235.
Mhm.
Under site development standards, I'm adding a couple of words about view sheds. So currently it says to preserve and enhance scenic points. Add the words and view sheds. And I'm looking at the comments from the letter we received asking for consideration to strengthen view sheds. So I've done that there. And one other place in section 12 when we get there. I think a scenic point is different from a view shed.
Yep, okay.
So it would come after scenic points, enhance scenic points. New word and view shed,
Okay,
view
great,
shed, plural. Thanks.
great, okay, great, thank you. The other article, then Article 8, adult entertainment, I didn't hear any changes on that. So we've got, what
I have something,
okay,
if I can. I'm sorry, what is the article, which article is it again?
8, adult entertainment.
Um,
And that one does not have a footer on that one. I'm sorry, I will put that on.
so in the use table, it says the special granting authority is the planning board, and in the article, it says it's the Board of Appeals.
Okay. I think you flagged that before and it didn't make it in. I think it should be the planning board. Don't you think?
Correct,
Correct.
correct.
Planning board, excellent, good catch there. Okay, article, so,
So it's listed a couple times in the article. Do you want the line numbers?
yes, please. Lines.
Line 29.
Yeah.
And line 33.
Okay. Let's change that. Okay. So I will, sorry.
What is with me?
Sorry about that. So I'd just like to take a motion to move what is currently numbered as Article 1, 3, 4, 8, and 6 as amendment to indicate, let me change that to indicate our intention to move these to final article and to final motions. 1, 3, 4, 8, and 6 as amended. So we will come back, we will have a final on these, but I just want to kind of formally say we're gonna move these to the town meeting articles and motion and final motions.
So I'll
Chris?
move that we move Articles 1, 3, 4, and 8,
And 6,
and 6. You want to say with the amendment, with the changes shown in this document?
yeah, to sort of indicate our intent to, and we intend, can I just say that we intend,
With the, how about with the intention
Yeah.
of finalizing them for town meeting?
Sarah, there's just a typo on the section 6 I can help you with.
yep. Just send it to me by,
Actually, just in your slide, I just wanted to clarify.
oh, okay,
So after scenic points, add the words "and view sheds." So delete to add and replace with and. Thank you.
great, thanks. Okay. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any other further discussion, Mary?
We haven't discussed Article 3. Or I'm sorry. I'm looking at Article 2. What
I
is
know,
Article
sorry.
3? Article
3 is
3
just to delete the sections out of the bylaw, out of the zoning bylaw.
And so Article 3,
Will come after we move the. So the reason we're taking,
Article
the
3
reason I
is
have
the-
Article 2 in here is because you don't have a copy of it. So I'm trying to just deal with things that you copy. I was trying to think of a simple way to
Yeah.
do it. I guess I messed it up.
No, no, no,
Article-
that's like- no,
Article 3 needs to, so what I did is I thought about, this is important. I thought about what article, and Chris and I talked about this, which article, what order we needed to take things in to make sure that if something fails, there's like a fallback position. So you don't want to remove something from the bylaw until you've put it in the general bylaw. So that's why we could do the general bylaws one as number 1 and then articles 1 through 4. I don't know, but it needs to be, and the removal of the sections from the zoning bylaw needs to be before those sections come up for revision. Does that make sense?
Sure. So we'll talk about Article 2 at another time.
We're gonna
later.
get to it later
Yeah.
tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so any other discussion here? Ron, we'll move to vote. You vote yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Chris,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Gary.
Affirmative.
All right, and I vote yes. All right, so
Passes 6-0.
thank you. So I received some proposed suggestions from Laura. I personally think they add good additions. So I put them all in a proposed motion. The motion is to add the language in yellow to the section 12 May 13th version, which is, you can read it, social, economic, community needs, which are served by the proposal, if appropriate, and that we would change the punctuation there. Whether scenic, and then add another criteria there, whether scenic views from public ways and developed properties have been considerably treated. It's a good performance standard. Oops, sorry. And then to section 12.5.4 conditions, requirement of surety bond and security, if appropriate. 12.5, add when appropriate, the Board of Appeals and so forth. And then I really like this one, referral to staff members of those agencies for comments shall be required in all instances.
well,
And I
these
think I was
came
supposed to
from-
make-
these actually came from Sarah Melish.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
She's not here to
I think some of them came from, okay, Laura?
Yeah, those are actually not my words. I had different words.
Oh.
If you would like to hear them, I can read them. They're short.
Oh, what's the document that I got? Okay.
I don't
Are
know.
they in contrast to this?
They're a little different. I can read it and see if it works for people. And also I'm proposing, you're adding as number 8. I'm proposing to insert between. So let's see, should we talk about, so this is section
Let's start
12.5.2.
5.2 first.
Okay, 12.5.2, in between 5, which addresses natural environment, and 6, which addresses fiscal impact. I was going to insert a point that said preservation, enhancement, or creation of existing and proposed scenic view sheds. Again, this is where I'm trying to insert a stronger language around protecting scenic view sheds. Let me read it again.
And in yes.
Preservation, comma, enhancement, comma, or creation of existing and proposed scenic view sheds.
Do we need to define scenic woodshed in our definitions? Do we know what that means?
Yeah, I can get you a definition in a moment.
Okay.
So the number 8 that I added there was a comment from the public in a letter that we got this week.
So if you're trying to follow along here, we're in section 12.5.2, which is line 102, 103. So we don't need both of these, right?
No, we can take out 8.
Okay.
I can give you a definition of a view shed. The
We
natural
need one.
environment that is visible from one or more viewing points.
Do we need to add that to our definitions?
I don't know. I mean, that's a commonly available.
I
Look
think
at a
they'll
dictionary.
show
I don't
it.
think we need it.
No.
Okay.
Okay, and this is going to be, I'm going to insert after 5 and renumber. Okay. Great, thank you. Sorry, I didn't, I thought I had your stuff. Okay, and then X to section 12.5.4 appropriate, and then appropriate and staff member. I think I was supposed to add those earlier. Any other comments there?
So can
I
I,
have-
so is a lawn considered a view shed?
Lawn could be
Well-
part of a view shed.
I think like anything, it's a view corridor, and scenic is a qualitative descriptor, but
Right.
I think that it's within the jurisdiction of the board and others to decide what scenic means. I mean, I think there's some common understanding of that, but like other criteria, it would be at the board's jurisdiction.
I think scenic views are enjoyed by the public, not just for one person's enjoyment or.
I agree.
That's one.
So I'm just trying to marry these two, because the one that the email came from Kurt, he highlighted impact on neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas. So he kind of brought it down to the neighborhood level. No, he didn't. In our current bylaw, it's in the neighborhood visual character, and I just want to make sure we're not losing that.
I think a view shed is always kind of a borrowed view, because if you're looking over a town, say if you're standing up at the top of Powder House Hill in the Powder House and you're looking towards the harbor, that is a view shed and a scenic view.
neighborhood character is number 5 right now.
Yeah, I think we've got neighborhood character addressed in other ways.
Neighborhood
Who has
character and social
some
structure.
advice here.
Okay,
Okay.
Erin,
Sue?
yeah, sorry, I don't know if you can see my hand. I do think that we need to be really careful about not being clear that we're talking about public views. Because if we're going to use this as criteria and people are going to say, but what about the view from my deck? I think you're in a real, I think that you get in a lot of trouble. So I think somehow we need to either in a definition or in the language itself that we need to say public views.
How about adding to the end of that for the enjoyment of the general public?
And proposed scenic,
So preservation,
Public.
enhancement, or creation of existing and proposed scenic view sheds for the enjoyment of the general public.
sure,
Does that address your concern?
yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Any other comments about the proposed changes? Gary?
Gary has.
I'm sympathetic to Laura's language here, but I'm really concerned about starting to talk about view sheds without having defined them first. I think it's really incumbent to catalog them and define them as a town. Otherwise, they could arbitrarily be imposed on someone's project by one board, you know, at one point in time saying, oh, that's a view shed. I mean, I don't know how Sue, maybe Sue has some comments about this.
This is sorry. Go ahead. Gary, I interrupted you. Anything else?
We've never tried to articulate views or view sheds or view corridors in town. And if we start using the language loosely, it could be an encumbrance to people unnecessarily.
All right, this isn't a specific criteria, it's a consideration. So special features set forth in the bylaw, the determination shall include consideration of the following: social, economic, community needs, traffic, adequacy of utilities, neighbor character, impacts on the natural environment, potential fiscal impacts.
Well, let me give you an example, please. On 127 near me, there were some single family homes and people bought them and wanted to add a second story. That blocked out the view for the public from Route 127, some of the view towards White Beach, which is a very pretty view. But ostensibly someone could say, no, you can't add a second story to your house because that's a public view shed.
Can only say that if it's a special permit.
Well, they needed one because of the non-conforming use. The lots were, it's part of District E and they were single acre instead of two. They were caught up in that trap.
I still think that it's, when you think about the LCD considerations, that this is something we've heard over and over.
What do you mean by that?
The view sheds along on 128. The view corridor of the treed line around 128. So
I think that we should catalog what we consider view. There's nothing wrong in doing it. It doesn't hurt the town. Somebody should somehow start to take a map out and define where these are.
we can, okay,
Can I
Laura?
respond to that quickly? Yeah, I think that a view shed is not necessarily a static thing. A project can even create a view shed. You can clear a land and make a view shed. You can close land in. So like a lot of the natural environment, it's not necessarily a static thing that's going to be unchanging. And so I think putting in the consideration for any project is a site-specific exercise.
Okay, any other discussion on this? I'd like to take a motion to accept the yellow changes in their entirety.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Oh, sorry.
Let's take a second. Laura?
Yes, second.
Okay, additional comments?
I was just going to say, they're just not agencies. The very last referral to staff members of these agencies, I think we either
Departments.
want to say departments or boards or committees, whatever they're referring to. I noticed that yesterday, sorry. Departments, yeah.
great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
I think that's, anybody have a problem with that?
I'll accept that amendment.
Okay, great. Any other discussion? Gary, I think we've heard your concern, but I think we're ready to vote. Chris,
Yes,
Laura,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes,
Gary,
Yes.
I vote yes. Okay, great, thanks. Mark Bobrowski had some procedural edits that I'm going to consider to be administrative unless anybody has a problem. He said, I sent this email to all of you, just there were picky things, but probably important. 12.6.3, he said that this was based on case law. So I will do that unless there are objections. Okay. So I'd like to, I guess, does this feel very awkward to have these motions or just move through them and not? What do you guys think? Should we try to or should we just indicate that our consensus now is that section 12 with these changes is okay and we'll vote a final version on Monday?
I
well,
think
some of
that
us
should-
aren't going to be here on Monday,
Oh,
so
okay.
we should vote as much as possible tonight.
Okay, so I vote to motion to advance the amended draft of Article 5, Section 12 to final warrant and associated motions.
so moved.
Second,
Second,
Nice.
all in favor? I mean, I can't do that.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Ron,
Yes,
Mary,
yes,
Chris,
Yes,
Laura,
yes,
Gary,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, so we've done that one. We've
the
done.
motion carries 6-0, Sharon.
Thank you. 6, we did 12. Okay. No, wait, I number section.
Sarah, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt, but 12.6.3, the language that Mr. Bobrowski has proposed is not at all what's in 12.6.3, which talks about the planning board serving as the approval authority for site plan review. So he's either putting it's either, I don't know why it says zoning board of appeals, ours says site plan review. I can't imagine that it's required.
I think he wants it to be the planning board. I mean, I
Well,
think
he-
we want it to be the planning board, right?
Yeah, so I just don't know if it will. Yes.
Yes, so we need
If
to,
that's the only error, yes. We
okay,
should confirm it with him.
we should confirm
Sorry.
that with him.
I couldn't get to it fast enough while you were,
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna confirm that.
and it's in a couple places. So
Yeah.
we can fix that Monday if we have to.
Yeah. Okay, so any objections to that change? Okay, great, thanks. Okay, 5, okay, 7, Article 7. Mark Bobrowski, I use red to delete things. I believe we agreed on these last night, but I just wanted to double check. And I was a little brain dead by the time last night was over. So and I have a couple other changes to section 7. So stay tuned here. So I would like a motion to strike the following shown in red from the May 13th version of Article 7 for non-conforming use.
there, excuse me.
Yeah.
I can't read the red. Could you either
Oh.
just enlarge it or
Yep.
speak it? Thank you.
Little too. Sorry.
A little more,
Let me-
or yeah, make it a different color.
make it a different
It's really
color.
hard to read the red. Thank you.
I was trying not to use yellow because I
Yeah, I
didn't.
get it.
Oh, wait a minute. No, I've like done the wrong thing.
Blue or green.
No, that's not good.
Ooh, that's worse. Unless you change the text color too.
Sorry. I think I
No, the
changed.
colors, the text color is gonna be fixed.
Oh my God. Sorry.
It was better before. I may have
I
missed,
know.
I may have missed some of this discussion yesterday because I lost image and I lost signal off and on. I thought we were headed in the direction of allowing the zoning board of appeals the power to allow a abandoned use
See it now. Sorry, Gary.
Yeah, I think Senator Mellish made that point.
by special permit. I thought that was going to be allowed. You're saying it's been deleted?
Well, this is, we had a discussion. I can quite, it was unclear to me where we ended up on this.
Gary, I think this is different from what you're talking about. This isn't a,
This is abandonment.
I think what Gary's talking about is,
No, this is within the non-conforming. It's abandonment of non-conforming. I thought we also wanted to be able to allow them to reestablish a non-conforming use.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, we don't have many good examples of it, but a gas station abandoned for over 2 years, can they open it up again as a gas station? Only by special permit. Instead of absolutely not.
So I think we highlighted this because it was discussed last night. I think that's where we are. We didn't, I'm not sure we resolved it.
I'm in
So-
favor of giving the ZBA that power instead of an absolute prohibition. And they would have to be judicious about what their decision would be, that's all.
Okay.
I said,
okay.
I agree.
I'm fine with that too, personally. I think leaving it in is okay, but this was a public comment issue.
I still kind of think we're talking about two different things. I think the public issue was the allowed going from one non-conforming use to another non-conforming use.
That was another issue. These are, you're right, that's something different and we'll get to that in a minute. But this is,
Mark Bobrowski did give us some advice on this.
Yeah, he said we should
So-
stay in.
He gave us the example of a beloved general store on a corner.
Right.
It goes bankrupt, it waits a couple of years. We get a new person trying to make a go of it. And, everybody wants the general store to be coming back in, but the use is non-conforming. So giving the town the flexibility to permit it if it is not a detriment and is beneficial.
I highlighted it because it came up in the public comment.
Yeah,
So,
his advice.
Do I have any motion to change it or shall we leave it as is? If I hear nothing, we will change it. We will leave it as is.
Leave it.
All right. And then we need to strike just the stray voltage here. He said, this was a Helene comment, actually. So his original was any non-conforming structure governed by section 7.5 shall be reconstructed after a catastrophe. So the highlighted parts was a question from Helene, and I just didn't see it. So I think we strike it from the version of I highlight it because it's in your paper copy here. So
So do I understand this correctly, that that Helene or someone's suggesting we remove what's in gray? Because if there's a catastrophe and it's not conforming, you shouldn't be prohibited from rebuilding it.
correct. Helene had suggested adding in other than non-conforming single or two-family dwelling. And Mark Bobrowski suggested just striking that, so.
If you,
So we
the
should
way it's
strike it.
written here, the way I understand it, the way it's written here, if you have a, oh wait,
Anything but a family, one or two family dwelling may be reconstructed. This is saying that
Yeah,
if you have a dwelling, you may not reconstruct it.
Right.
Right.
I think we should stick with Mark Bobrowski's advice here.
I agree.
I think Elaine was confused.
Yep, so that's why I just wanted to highlight that. So we will delete these,
Delete that clause.
delete that clause.
so. If a catastrophe happens and it's a non-conforming structure, you're stuck. You have to rebuild it to conform with zoning.
No, any non.
Oh, you can rebuild it. You can rebuild it.
rebuild it.
In accordance with the following provisions, whatever those are.
Yeah, there's a whole, it's gotta be within 2 years and there's a whole bunch of stuff about it. So you know what? It made mention.
So it is giving permission to rebuild.
Right.
Yeah, you just have to stay on the same footprint.
Okay, so so do I have a well, let's take these all at once. The next is, I don't know whose these were. I thought they were Laura's, but maybe not. Let me make it a little bigger. To add the following language in yellow to the section 7.2 non-conforming uses. It was a little bit of an effort to understand what detrimental meant. Did this come from you, Laura?
No, it came from me.
Oh, good.
It
Sorry.
did not. I think it's, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I thought I had a merge of the two. All right, Chris, go for it.
So this was in response to a lot of comments at the public hearing about the vagueness of the word less detrimental. How could you measure it? And so Mark Bobrowski answered, I thought very eloquently, and said, well, you'd look at parking, and you'd look at traffic, and you'd look at the neighborhood context and make a determination. So I figured, why don't we just say that?
Yeah.
And at least give the Board of Appeals some guidance, what detrimental is all about.
And section 6.3 are all the performance standards for special permit.
To not highlight any one in particular, should we just say shall consider the performance standards as applicable in 6.3 of this?
That's what I was going to suggest too. I don't want to infer that we're highlighting some but not others.
Right.
I think
Does that
that's
make sense?
Well, I'd like to say I'm opposed to this because you're sort of duplicating what the job is of the special permit granting authority. And there is a bunch of language and criteria in granting a special permit. We shouldn't redundantly mention 2 or 3 items as if they might forget to notice that they should be considering these things. And this is maybe going one step too far to placate people who may not understand the special permit granting process, because this is exactly what you do consider. You consider other things also. So
Yeah,
I think
That's
Gary,
what we
you're
just said.
You're absolutely right, Gary, but we're not going to get the votes otherwise.
This is about making it understandable to and palatable perhaps to the voters.
But I'm just stating that I disagree with that. I don't support it. And it is the very nature of the special permit criteria that we already have elsewhere in the bylaw.
Okay.
Agreed.
Gary, that's what this is referring to. I think it's just referring back to that to say, look at this criteria to see if it's detrimental or less
But
detrimental.
it's sort of being redundant. Like we found a lot of redundancies in the bylaws. Oh, don't forget about parking. Don't forget about traffic. Well, they already know to consider it.
That's
the
what
point.
we're suggesting, Gary, to simplify. Just refer back to special permit criteria. Are you okay with that? I think
So
it's just a cross-reference.
Are you taking?
Delete all, just what Sarah's doing now. Delete all that and standards 6.3.
mean,
But
those
maybe just
things
take
are
off that are
listed.
appropriate. Just
Those are all
consider,
listed in 6.3.
yeah.
So
So
it's
instead of
it
listing
is-
some, we just
Just say
cross-reference
6.3.
6.3.
Yeah, I agree.
But if you
Not
need to get a
exactly,
special permit, you have to adhere to 6.3, correct?
no,
Right.
Gary, this is different. This is a determination that it's less detrimental to the neighborhood.
Well, it's a special permit
But
too.
the
Yeah,
standards
they
are
have to
in
do it anyway, but this is a special case.
I think it helps us make the case for this provision, for sure. So I'm in favor of it. Okay. We've heard that Gary is, Gary, do you want to take these separately now that you've, or well, let's take the last one for section 7, and I'd like to try to vote them all together. add additional permissible change under 7.5.1. Is this yours?
This is
Chris,
Sarah Melish. Sarah,
Sarah
S.
Melish.
Sarah Mellis, yeah.
So 7.5.1 is permissible changes. The following circumstances shall not be deemed to increase the non-conformity nature of said structure, and a building permit may be issued. So this is the de minimis. So there's sort of these insufficient area, insufficient frontage, and encroachment. And she's suggesting coverage of a lot and impermeable surface. I'm not sure I agree with that. She's saying if you're increasing the
No, as long as you're not increasing it. In other words, if you want to put a dormer on a house
right,
that covers a lot by more than the allowed amount in the district.
It means if there's too much impervious covered by the lot, so it's non-conforming as of today,
oh, right,
they
okay.
can proceed as long as they don't increase that non-conformity, and that's reasonable.
Yep, okay.
But as it's written, it doesn't make any sense to me.
It seems clear. They're
So
saying
that-
alteration to a structure that exceeds the coverage limits, so it's non-conforming on that level.
So long as the coverage is not increased.
Exactly. So as
No.
long as we don't increase the building footprint or impervious surfaces,
This is how they're written with a period.
it does make sense. Yeah.
And they all start with alteration.
I don't know why she's asking for this, because it's a matter of practice that they deal with things this way. As long as you don't increase the nonconformity, they tend to say,
Sarah, I think it's all just right below that. If you start with alteration, get rid of everything before that.
sorry.
Well, maybe, I think she needs a heading, and so instead of encroachment, it would say lot coverage, and then get rid of all.
Yeah, lot
there you
coverage.
go. I think you got it.
Excessive lot coverage, I guess, right?
That exceeds the coverage limits.
Well, you gotta make
Excessive.
it, it's gotta be then the same, the way the others are written also.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
It is.
that
It
is the way.
identifies the deficiency, insufficient area, insufficient frontage,
Okay.
encroachment, so it needs to be
Yeah.
excessive lot coverage or something like that. It's not just lot coverage, it's
I think it's probably impervious.
impervious, exceeds impervious lot coverage or something.
Yeah.
Sue, I'm not sure how to say it.
Yeah, they don't use a verb in all the other ones, so.
I think it
I
exceeds
see
lot
what she's
coverage. I think
saying.
that's fine. Don't you?
Well,
encroachment.
it's slightly different just in the format of what.
No,
saying.
insufficient frontage is one, insufficient frontage, so.
I think
So
you say excessive.
Excessive lot coverage. There we
Yep.
go.
Okay. All right, so we have, I think those are are there any other changes, proposed changes to section 7? We have this
I
little.
have sorry, my hand's
Yeah,
been
go
up.
ahead.
I have
Sorry.
concern with that number 4 motion. Because
Yep.
at least the way it's worded, somebody could come in with a, the impervious surface above what's allowed in the district. And I guess sorry, I'm not talking about tonight. What would prevent somebody, because all this is saying, as long as the coverage is not increased. So what people do is they put pavers or crushed gravel or whatever else, right? So they could potentially increase their house size and then replace the driveway with something that's quote more pervious. And so their actual lot coverage has not changed
Yeah, that's
for
right.
impervious.
that's true, and it's a standard practice in the zoning board of appeals and reviewing things. They scrutinize it and they add it up.
So I don't agree with that because I think, and this is, but I think that
Well, you just don't want buildings to be bigger? I mean,
Yeah.
this is about impervious soil. It's not about building size. People can make their buildings bigger if they want to.
Gary,
Well,
excuse me, I am speaking.
Yeah.
And do not put words in my mouth if I don't want bigger buildings. Enough of this.
But what did you just say?
Gary, stop.
Gary,
Let's,
I am
let's,
speaking.
Gary, let's hear
one person
Mary's
at a time.
point. She's got I have a point I hadn't thought about, so go for it. Go ahead, Mary.
So again, my concern is that the way this is currently worded is people could rejigger what their impervious surface coverage is and actually increase the size of a building or increase the size of, a driveway, whatever it may be, and lessen the other thing. So I think it's not clear. I think I know what her intent is, but I don't think this is clear.
I have to agree with that.
Yep.
what
So let's
would
start
make it
with,
clear?
well, before we even try to clarify, let's ask, do we want to include a circumstance around lot coverage among the in addition to the 3 that are currently listed there? Because if we don't, then there's no sense wordsmithing it. So what's our thinking about whether we even want to add a 4th criteria? Let's start with that, and then we can figure out how to word it. Does that make sense? So Mary, I think you're proposing that we would not add the 4th criteria around lot coverage. Am I hearing you correctly?
I would propose that unless it was clear that it was not increasing lot coverage with any surface, really, I guess.
So you're saying that what's happening sometimes is you could add a porch and make your gravel pave pea stone,
Right.
your driveway. Which I guess if you're caring about water impermeability, that's nothing. If you put your blinders onto everything else and you're just looking at lot coverage, that's okay, maybe on the math front. Okay, Laura, go ahead.
I'm a little confused about whether lot coverage can be anything that's making impervious surface. It doesn't have to do with the size of the building, because I'm not quite sure why I'm feeling this, but I feel like this is kind of a loophole that's letting coverage of the lot that's already too big continue to grow bigger. So making an existing use worse. It seems like it would be allowing a detrimental condition. But so if we're gonna include it, I think we got to parse it out more. I'd be in favor of excluding it at the moment unless we come up with a definition that is not detrimental.
Yeah, I think I'm inclined to exclude it even. Chris, do you have opinion?
Well, this was not my idea. This is Sarah Mellish's, but I can see her point. If if you're going to replace, let's say you have a porch that you want to take off and replace it with a new porch, maybe smaller. This wouldn't, currently you couldn't do it. You couldn't get the special permit to do it because you're a non-conforming lot. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that as long as the total amount of impervious surface doesn't change, why can't you allow someone to manipulate the impervious surfaces within the lot?
Sue?
So I think, so these are, we need to remember, these are things that we're basically saying, we're not going to consider these detrimental if
Right.
it's one of these. So, Chris, I think they can get a special permit. This is saying you won't need a special permit if you want. But what I wanted to say is, so what's listed currently are all things that make a lot or a building non-conforming. Lot coverage can make a building non-conforming. So I think the intent is to take all the things that make a lot non-conforming and then say, as long as the change is not more detrimental, is not increasing the non-conformity, in this case, the non-conformity is the lot coverage, then it should be able to do that. So I think the language isn't maybe where it should be, but I would ask Mark if he could create the appropriate language. But I do think she's trying to be consistent in saying any of these things that are non-conforming, there should be a baseline to say, well, if you're changing this, but you're not changing a non-conformity or making any other additional non-conformity, which is part of it, then it should be allowed. So I think the intent is right. I think language might need to come from someone else. And I don't feel super strongly.
I mean, it could be as simple as that the footprint of the structure doesn't increase. Right? I mean,
I think that's making it all about the footprint, and there are other things like height, or I think it's more nuanced than that. That's just my opinion, but.
well, the footprint is what's going to be the lot coverage. So that's why I was thinking of that.
Except Mary, I think it includes the driveway and other surfaces too. So it could be that you're expanding
Both,
the
yeah.
footprint or the, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't read.
I
right.
agree. It doesn't read right. Maybe I like Sue's suggestion of asking Mark Bobrowski. I do wonder if essentially this is making a kind of a grandfathered use acceptable for, if our stormwater regulations change at some point, and when you go to pull a permit, you need to retain more stormwater or whatever it might be, then this could be at odds with that, but maybe that's a bridge we cross at the time. Or maybe that they'll just, I guess everything will be subject to those stormwater regulations. So I don't know how that would play against this, but maybe asking Mark Bobrowski's.
I think what's missing is that in the other language, it says, which complies with all other current setback yard, building coverage, and building height requirements. And this is just missing that. So if you look closely at it, it says alteration to a structure to sort of within, and then add the same thing that's in all of the others, which complies with all other current setback yard, building coverage, and building height requirements. So it's not a free for all. Do you need that language again, Sarah?
You got it. How about all other requirements? Oh,
Which complies with all current setback, yard, building coverage, and building height requirements. Although I think
building coverage, you're going to leave out building coverage.
right. Yeah, I think you would leave that out because that's what we're talking about. And I would still suggest we ask Mark's blessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary,
I'm
does that
okay with
make
that
sense?
Yeah.
I still don't agree with it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, can we pass on making a motion on this one?
Yeah, let's pass on 7 on that one. We'll pass on this one. I want to get some clarity on these. I think this one's administrative. I'm not going to worry about that one. Can I just get because I know Gary wants to vote against this one. So let's just take a motion on this. Are there any other changes on 7 that we should think about that anybody had at this moment? Okay. I'll take a motion to add the following language shown in yellow to the 7.2 non-conforming uses. Chris?
You want me to second or make the motion?
I want you to make the motion. And
I'll make that
Ron,
motion.
can I have a second, Ron?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? Chris?
Sarah,
Yes,
are you
Gary.
referring to everything in yellow right now?
No,
Adding what's just in yellow in this section here.
Okay,
Yeah, well, in fact, I'll move this to a separate sheet, separate.
if you want to vote the administrative stuff on the other articles.
Do I have consensus on the administrative? I think that's, is there any objections to the administrative stuff? No, okay.
Why don't can we include that? in the
Include
motion?
that too, that's fine. Thank you.
I'll amend the motion to include.
Okay,
the administrative changes.
okay.
So Sharon, that's 7.7 and 6.7.
7.7 and 7.2. Chris, yes or no?
Yes,
Laura,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes.
Gary,
No,
okay. Mary,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, great. And we're
Motion
gonna leave.
passes 6-1,
Thank
5-1.
you. Thank you. Wait on this. Okay, save that. Okay. Oh, this is my last slide. So it seems to me that we have, we state them one at a time. Comments on the residential conservation cluster. Now, I just want to clarify, I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Mary, but I want to clarify what we're doing here. We're moving these forward to town meeting. This is, you will have a chance on Monday to vote whether we're going to recommend, whether you want to recommend the article or not, because I recognize that not these three may not have, I think all the rest of them probably have unanimous support or near unanimous support, but we will have to vote each to recommend each article separately. So if you don't recommend the article, but we're now just voting to get it to the near finish line. Does that make sense? Not necessary to recommend it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, but I do have comments on the
Great.
language.
Okay, no, go for it. Which one do you want to start with?
The residential conservation cluster.
Okay,
9.2.13. It says maintain the town's traditional character and land use pattern in which small villages contrast with open land. I don't really know how that applies to Manchester. I mean, we don't have villages.
Or open land much.
But, you know, I mean, nothing drastic, but it seemed like maybe it was plucked from,
like from
Somewhere.
somebody else, yeah.
sure was.
I wouldn't mind changing that, but I don't, you know. The other one was,
Well, let's just think about how whether we recommend striking it or changing it, since we're all looking at it. Do you have a recommendation? Do you want to strike it or do you want to just? I agree with you, it's not that appropriate.
I mean, I'm fine, you know, obviously maintain the town's traditional character and land use pattern, but yeah,
Can we just leave it after, strike it after land use pattern?
sorry, could you read the number again?
Yeah, it's line 14
Like,
of Article 9,
9.2.1.
line 14.
I would strike after land use pattern.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with that. I think that's fine.
Okay.
Actually, I'm trying, it's weird numbering. So 9.2.9. Oh, maybe this is just stapled wrong. Actually,
Do you guys have this in your packets? I do not.
yeah.
I do not have 9, 10, or 11.
Oh,
Oh, wait a minute. Wait a
I do,
minute.
they're back to
Oh,
back.
they're
with some other
back to
stuff.
back. I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
Sorry.
You're right.
I'm sorry, it's still under 9.2.1. It's number 13. I brought this up before because I thought it was weird that it was added in, but so it says encourage more sensitive reuse of qualifying sites within the RD1, RD2, and G districts. Why isn't it saying all districts?
and don't have LCD, right?
Yeah, we can say all, we can say all districts.
Or
except-
then that would include the LCD. Oh,
Except the
residential
LCD.
districts.
How about all residential districts?
Okay,
I agree.
line number, sorry, I was doing something else.
33,
Oh, 33.
Yeah,
And then I think you would need to take out the statement in these more populated districts. So just say, so that redevelopment is integrated with surrounding uses
Right.
and promotes.
Yeah, that's good.
okay, I've done that on paper on those are lines 33 and 34.
that's it for the RCC.
Okay, great, good reading, thank you. Okay, so what is that? That's 9.
What about
Oh.
10?
Let me just, before we, let's finish on this one. This is the RCC. Okay, let's take a
Move it
motion to
forward.
move this one forward. Is that a motion, Ron?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to move Article 9 forward.
Okay,
Accept language as
Yep.
discussed.
amended. Okay.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Gary,
What?
Vote.
vote. To
Oh.
move.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Laura,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes,
Mary,
Yes,
Ron.
Yes, so this will be one of the slides we put up in town meeting, the table.
yes.
Well, let's talk.
Is that?
I don't wanna get-
I don't want to jump the gun, but I mean, this is one of them, I assume.
Yes, I
And
think
as-
so. I think I disagree with, we could talk about this along the,
Okay, we,
I'm
yeah,
not sure I
let's
agree
talk
with
about
Alan
that.
about that
Okay,
whole thing.
all right, all right.
But, okay, let's, I do want to talk. Well, let's get through the rest of this. Okay, senior housing.
so I had a
Comments.
comment.
Yep.
So in the article description, to see if the town will vote, blah, 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 it doesn't list District E.
Oh.
Oh, good catch.
She's probably the
Anything new,
best.
Chris?
Come on, I had all, right. So, so it does, let me,
On your presentation, you had all, but on this,
yeah, I know I think we intended it to be all. So is there any thoughts about, not including any particular districts? And I'm gonna, so E was a typographical error. I would like to suggest that from my perspective, I think we should hold on the limited commercial district I can see the merits of moving senior housing forward for the LCD, but we have just gone to town meeting whenever that was, this month, early last month, and said that there wasn't residential uses in the LCD. We have this study that Chris or that Sue is working on with MAPC about guidelines for housing. And although some of senior housing might be commercial in nature, it is residential. And I think we haven't fully thought through what this bylaw really means in scale. So I'm not opposed to having it in the LCD, and it means we gotta like hash it through again with another zoning change. But it's my opinion that maybe we should hold on the LCD for the senior housing. I'm curious what other people think, and if I'm in a minority, then I'm. Yes, Marion, go ahead.
so I agree with that. LCD does not have housing. I would also say that I don't think we've thought about all of the ramifications of this within residential areas. If it's assisted living that needs, you know, ambulances in and out and ramps and parking and various different things. So, you know, seeing, you know, ambulances come and go in District D, for example, or the general district. You know, my dad was in assisted living, so I, you know, you need a lot of space for these things, you know, you need the right turnarounds, you need space for, you know, the fire trucks to be and the ambulances. And so I just don't know that we've thought about this enough.
Well, I think it would be by special permit. I'm less worried about that piece because I think that those things would have to be considered based on the size and scale of the proposal. My concern is sort of political at this moment, about getting these things passed, being true to what we're saying and being thoughtful. So that's my, not to debate you. Laura, go ahead.
Yeah, so you're saying it's a question of timing, because it could be that a senior housing is essentially a campus, and that scale of use, which can still be quite modest and residentially scaled and all, you know, contextual and all that good stuff and tucked in the woods, but may require a certain, you know, area of land to be able to
Oh,
build
certainly.
such
A
campus.
big,
So,
a
yeah,
big,
so that's the goal of our master plan, to provide it. I wouldn't want to shut the door on this discussion, so I think you're just recommending to hold it and revisit it later. Is that right, Sarah?
yeah, that's sort of my thought, is that if we don't, that I think actually for the reasons that Mary has described, that I think we should, I'm just wondering if we should hold on it for the LCD. I think, so I may be in a minority. Ron, go ahead.
A couple of points on Mary on the adequate. I agree, it could be a political football here on the adequacy. There is on numbers 11 and 12, you know, adequate circulation, adequate parking, public safety, emergency. It's kind of been prescribed already. I think in the what is it, 9.3.4 dimensional requirements. But I do agree that it's probably not the right time to propose housing up there when we just proposed the commercial use. And to revisit it, I don't know, to point it out, to put housing up there. I don't know if it's ever going to be a time to put housing up there, but I agree politically, it's probably not the right time.
Chris.
I couldn't disagree more. I think this is exactly the time to do it. And the LCD is much bigger than just the part we're talking about. There's a whole part over on Pine Street near Gordon College, which would be a great place for some kind of a campus facility. Maybe even affiliated with Gordon College, and maybe that's something they're even talking about doing. I don't know. But it is a special permit. If we don't do it now, when the heck are we going to do it?
Sue.
Oh, thanks. I thought I was muted. I've just been quiet. Imagine that. I just want to point out that this was a use that was the most highly supported throughout the master planning process, and specifically for the LCD when we talk about assisted living and all that. So I don't think that people have forgotten the needs of that community and the appropriateness of that large open space. Again, I just think I know people will see one thing and want that one thing and think it's a silver bullet, but there's no guarantee that self-signaling will come through. And I agree with Chris. I think that I know that some people will object to anything up there, but I do think that this is a commercial use, and it was highly, highly supported in the master planning process.
Ron.
think I've said you were asking me to.
Oh, you have your hand up again.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I understand Chris's point. Making frequent trips to assisted living facilities these days. There's what we think of as kind of a nursing home or a contained building, but many of these places really have independent housing units. They have townhouse style units. And that's the piece that I'm concerned about at this moment. That's the piece that I think is, I am not, I mean, it just doesn't fit with my view of what should happen. I'm not a fan of the mixed use in the LCD and the residential, independent living townhouse type units in the LCD. So I guess I'm twofold, to be honest, is I'm not sure that I think it's that piece of senior housing is right for the LCD. And then I'm perhaps hiding behind a timing argument that says that we haven't fully thought it through. And so that's my point. Gary, you haven't said anything on this.
Could it easily be amended at town meeting to just remove that use from the LCD if it's there seems to be opposition? I assume the answer is yes. I would agree with Chris, and it is a commercial type of use. I would feel sad if it was there by itself, but if some developer understands how they function, these facilities, and feels that he could build one that would be welcoming and successful, I mean, let them propose something. It would be kind of sad to have them isolated up there, but I say we should allow the use. It does reflect the master plan. And worst comes to worst, we could just take that part of it out.
Okay. Anybody else have any new thoughts? Sharon?
Yeah.
Yep.
This
Mary?
is Mary. I think I agree with you, Sarah. My issue with this is the senior housing bucket is a big bucket. So it's assisted living, which is more commercial. It's, senior care, which is more commercial. To your point, senior housing can be, though we've created it to be somewhat small units, they could be, it could still be luxury 2-bedroom units that sell for, whatever they sell for. So that's the housing component. And we don't currently allow housing in the LCD. So I don't even know if this bylaw would fly worded to let it in the LCD, because I think we only let commercial. So we're saying two things in two different bylaws. And again, if it was just saying we allowed assisted living in the LCD, I could understand that, but this is housing.
Okay. I think everybody, Laura, we haven't heard from you.
You did hear from me early on. My mother lives in one of these too. In fact, today is her 96th birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. And,
I'm sure
she, these places provide a continuum of care. You may start off in independent living and then need to move to assisted or dementia care, as this has happened in my own family. So I wouldn't want to preclude the mix that supports aging on one campus. And I think this, I'm hearing what Sue and Chris and Gary are saying. This is a use that's highly desired, and it can be quite contextual if we need to provide more controls around it. One of those be design standards or what have you. Maybe we should be doing that, but I wouldn't want to preclude the use. I think it's really needed, and it can be the right place for a campus.
Yeah, I guess my concern is that we could also end up with a proposal that only has one part of the use. And that's just
Well, we turn it down. The special permit, we turn it down.
Or can we make that a performance standard, sort of, the continuum of care in our standard, and modify it that way?
I think we have the right to do whatever we want to with a special permit request.
So that we don't wait for the special permit, but we put it into the regs now.
I think that could be done, because I agree. I don't think anyone wants to see standalone senior housing if it's not, you know,
Right.
not contextual. That's not where
Yeah.
we would put our seniors unless there was some continuing type care of, you know, unless it was a community. So
Right,
Yeah.
but right now, this, as I read this, we could have a bunch of townhouses that have 55 plus.
We do have definitions, don't we?
Yeah,
Of
we do
continuum
in
care or
section
something.
two.
Can we use
Yeah.
those definitions to help us shape this section?
but it's only by special permit, and the
Mhm.
planning board is a special permit granting authority. So I think it could be strengthened with some language regarding the mix, but I would hate to see us throw the baby out with the wash on this one. That's it for me. I'm not a voter.
Okay, I'm gonna suggest tabling that discussion for right now, because I'm not prepared to make a significant, important change unless anybody wants to make a motion. I think we have corrected the typo in E. I may make a suggestion for something at the next meeting, but I'm not prepared to do that tonight. So I might. Does anybody want to make a motion to advance senior housing as written? Or any other motions on this, or do we want to wait till Monday on this one?
Why don't we wait till Monday, and I'd be happy to work with anybody on
Okay,
some kind
great.
of language.
I'll work with,
I'm happy to work with you, Chris.
can't
Will you
type it.
take some input?
Yeah.
I'll give you some
Yeah, anybody-
comments.
I'm
Anybody-
particularly interested in the LCD. I think it's fine if we,
That's wrong.
okay. Okay, the last one is, well, we have general bylaws too. I really want to be done by 8:30, but we spent a lot of time on ADUs last night. I'm hoping we can have a motion to advance the bylaws as amended last night.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any other discussion?
Wow. There's a
Sarah,
country I
Stu?
didn't expect. Gary, you didn't know what we did to it. You were away.
Sarah, I appreciate that you don't want me to do this, and I'm not going to make a hard case, but I just want to bring to people's attention, in case they haven't considered it, that by limiting the number of bedrooms to 2 in a building that can be as large as 1,200 square feet, effectively eliminates families with more than one child. I have had numerous calls from single parents with 2 children, both the calls that recall of different sex, but 2 bedrooms effectively eliminates them from this type of housing, which is a less costly housing and an option for people that may not have a means for purchase or renting a large house. So I just want to point out that I think it's a bit discriminatory to families, and I just hope that you would consider that.
Okay, Mary, you had your hand up.
So just looking back to what was brought up last night, so has it was asked that the references to affordable language be struck. Has that happened?
There is no affordable language in the ADU. Somebody
Oh.
did a search for that.
Okay, so has it been struck elsewhere?
I don't believe it was in, maybe it was lower, less, more affordable, correct?
Less expensive is the
Less
word.
expensive.
Where did we fall on the, somebody had brought up occupancy limit. Did we do anything with that?
We
I don't-
said the building code
inspector.
would
Building code.
satisfy that. That came up.
And then did we decide not to put anything with ADUs and curb cuts? I forget.
I think Laura has a proposal under the general bylaws.
Yep,
for that.
Mary, I'm going to bring something when we get to that section. that I
Okay,
hope will address those concerns.
Okay, any other comments? Laura, did you have another comment?
Yeah, in response to Sue, I believe that we did have that discussion with Mark Bobrowski last night, and it was my recollection that we struck the clause that said 2 bedrooms. We capped at 1,200 square feet, and we did not.
We kept it, we struck 2 bedrooms for the max. We left it in, what's line number 53 and 54. The ADU shall not be larger than 900 square feet of living area, no more than 2 bedrooms. But
I think
if
for
it
900 square feet, why not just strike the 2 bedrooms anyhow? I mean, it's
doesn't matter.
practically a studio, and let it be whatever it wants to be. Let it be flexible.
I agree
I
with that.
That's fine.
I'm sorry, I did not know that it was struck. So
No,
I
thank you, Sue.
apologize for getting on that soapbox.
I appreciate the point. Having been a single mom for a long time, I appreciate the point.
Okay, so the proposal is to move this to final consideration, striking in lines 53, 54, nor have more than 2 bedrooms is the only modification. Are there any other comments?
Where, oh, it's fairly common in ADUs to limit them to 2 bedrooms. I think it's important for people to have a certain amount of comfort factor about these, and we see how they go for a year or 2 before making other tweaks. So I would advocate to leave in the 2 bedroom limit, as much as I may feel a bit differently ultimately in the big picture, but I think for now it's reasonable.
And Mark Bobrowski did send us a definition.
I have it. Would you
I
like me to read it?
I don't object to it with the by right. I think what
Yeah.
I object to it is that you wouldn't allow it by special permit. I think
Right,
by
we took
right
it out of the special permit. I
Yeah.
actually would like to keep it in by right. I agree with
Okay.
Garrett.
900 square feet doesn't allow much, but
Okay. So what we're doing is moving it to final consideration, the May 17th draft as written. Do I have a motion, Chris?
Yes, I move that we approve it as written.
Gary,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Mary?
is that as written, what we have as the hard copy?
Yes.
Yes.
Ron?
Yes,
And I vote yes. Okay, great.
And I vote yes
Motion.
too. Just the word.
Okay. Whew.
motion carries 6-0.
Motion carries. Okay, the last thing, and I'm trying to. Am I still sharing? I am not. Unfortunately, the general bylaws section was not included in our packet. And Laura there's some track changes, which I think can all be accepted. Laura has proposed adding. She first of all, let me just make this bigger. She notes that this existing clause would cover ADUs and other uses. So this is in the driveway entrances. This permit shall be separate in addition to any building permit or site plan review permit. I'm going to hide that comment. Delete the comment. And she proposes to add driveways shall be designed to maximize visibility in all directions and to minimize the flow of water into the public way and adjacent to
That was
minimize.
just the addition of an and to clarify that sentence,
Right.
the real substance below.
Right, to avoid reduction of on-street parking, to maintain accessible cross slopes in public sidewalks, and to minimize vehicle pedestrian conflicts. Residential uses are encouraged to utilize only one drive entrance, with 2 entrances being the maximum allowable and requiring planning board review. I think that's a great addition.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So are there any other comments? Any other comments on this proposed? Can everybody see that?
Well, where did
Could you
the,
enlarge it a little bit?
where
Yeah.
did I'm sure it's there. I just can't see it. There shall normally be not more than one driveway.
Yeah, maybe I
Maybe.
can talk this through.
Where's
So,
that?
so Mary, where Sarah's cursor is what we had before. So residential uses are encouraged to utilize only one driveway entrances. And then before we'd said 2 being the max allowable. So what I've done is say, if you're gonna have 2, that's gonna bump you to the next paragraph, which is planning board special review. So DPW is not gonna decide that, but it's gonna come back to planning board if you want more than one entrance.
Okay,
And then effectively, I've added a purpose statement here, which is why we want the one entrance to be the default, to avoid reduction in on-street parking, to maintain accessible cross slopes on public sidewalks. So every time a driveway crosses a sidewalk, you get these slopes that are no longer accessible by MAB, and to minimize vehicle pedestrian conflicts that occur when a vehicle crosses a pedestrian way.
So
What I
can
was
make
doing in the
one-
highlight before was just simply saying that it's already requiring this as a separate review to any building permit. So an ADU and every other permit requirement or site plan review requirement would also require separately. a
This was
driveway
already
entrance.
there.
This
this
was
was
already
already-
there. I'm just calling it out to
Yeah.
everyone.
so if, you know, somebody has a single driveway and then they want to make a circular driveway, they would come to the
Mhm.
planning board.
That's right.
Okay,
And make a case for why that
Can I
would be.
make-
And
can I
then we'd be
make-
saying, we think you shouldn't, but make your case for it in a special permit process.
Laura,
Do
can
you-
can we
do you-
take out the word review after planning board and say approval?
Yes, thank you, Chris.
And do we want to add some wiggle room on the width? You know, unless, you know, if someone wants to go wider, they can come before us. I mean, there may be a reason.
They can do that anyway, I think.
Okay, it says
Yeah.
no more than 12 feet wide, so I mean,
Yeah,
there may be
I think at the
somebody with a,
bottom, I think it says non-compliant driveways have to come to the planning board for approval.
okay.
so actually, Ron, that raises a question for me, because under this B, it says all new and relocated.
Sorry, I just deleted something.
Oh.
Sorry. Luckily, I have everything in 2 places.
Could you
Sorry.
bring it up again? Yeah, we'll look at Mary's.
I got it. I was just trying to save it so I didn't lose it, but I didn't mean to lose something else. Okay, sorry.
I was just looking at the number B, applicability, where it says all new and relocated driveway entrances. Should that also say expanded? Because if somebody's wanting to expand a driveway, they have to,
Is that
Yeah.
up, Mary? Were you scrolling up?
that's under B, applicability.
I just can't
Yeah,
see the
sure.
letters in the.
Yeah, you
yeah,
gotta
the
go to the
screen
right a
is-
little,
Sarah, can you-
Sarah, you
yeah, there
gotta
we
go a
go,
little,
okay.
there you go.
All new, relocated. Yeah,
All new-
all new, or
expanded.
altered.
I
Yeah,
was gonna, because if you're expanding, yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
Altered.
use I wouldn't use altered only
altered.
because that just might mean paving.
yeah,
But
expand,
expanded, yeah, I think.
okay.
right.
Great. Any objections? Let me just ask, because the general bylaws section has a bunch of track changes. Does anybody have any more comments on the general bylaws section? I think it needs to be kind of tidied up before it gets voted. It's too much
I
sort of gray voltage on that.
I was wondering if you could tell me where Article 12, what it compared to in our current bylaws.
None of those exist in our current bylaws. Right? Oh, Article 12.
Do you mean Article
Is it
12 of
section
12 of
12?
the general
Yeah.
bylaws?
I'm
Mary,
just looking at the amend general bylaws, Article 2.
Article 2, yeah, sorry. I don't
And
have
then it
it
says
printed.
Article 12. Storage of commercial materials and vehicles.
Let me pull that up.
Are we just moving that?
I don't recall this.
It doesn't currently exist, so that's why.
So this gets back to the commercial vehicle, because now, you know, we're not defining it in the use table, we're not defining it in definitions, but now we're saying it's 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight. So there's that, but then I guess for me, this becomes very subjective with like the storage of building and landscaping materials and equipment. I mean, I think again, we don't have to rehash it, but that could become neighbor nuisance issues very quickly, and having the building inspector that, again, it's subjective. So I think we're shooting ourselves in the foot on this one. Because one person's landscaping materials is another person's,
Mary,
master.
didn't we say commercial? Because I remember talking about that one and I thought we inserted, I don't have it in front of me now, but I thought we inserted commercial landscaping and
It does say
it does.
commercial. Commercial
Well, the
materials.
first-
It's not in our packet, right? It's
The first bullet says
Not
the
in my
storage
packet, no.
of building and landscaping materials and equipment. And then the second bullet says commercial landscaping equipment, materials, supplies. So the first one is just building and landscape materials, right? Like, so somebody could be like, I'm gonna, do something in my yard and get all the equipment and just store it there and then decide not to do it, but then it sits there, right?
So you think that's a good idea?
Do I think it's a good idea?
Yeah.
No.
So should we regulate it or let it go? Maybe we're regulating something that's not a problem.
Well, I think what bylaws try to prevent problems. So if we're saying that you can do it and it's subjective, then I think it does create problems.
I think it gets to when a neighbor complains, and then it becomes an issue.
Yeah, and again, and I'm just raising it. I mean, it's going to be that, something that one neighbor might not mind, another neighbor might, and it just becomes, my view
hear
of
you.
bylaws is we're trying to avoid problems, and I don't
Right.
want to create problems.
Does inserting the word commercial in the first bullet address your concern, Mary? The storage of commercial building and landscaping equipment?
No, because, anybody could declare something's commercial and it's,
Still subjective.
yeah.
Unless maybe you said the commercial storage, which means then it's not the material, but it's the activity, the commercial storage of building and landscaping materials and equipment. I don't know if that's getting what you're after.
Mary, is your objection
Contractors,
that,
yards?
Yeah.
Sorry,
it's
you
taken,
go.
sorry, I was just gonna, is the objection that it's moving to the general bylaws, or is the objection that it's not enforced by the planning board?
Neither. I think,
Sorry.
I was looking at this and I was like, where is this stuff coming from? Because it's not in our current bylaws, so.
Right, it came from the conversations that we had a couple years ago with Mr. Bobrowski. It was brought up as something that we wanted to address, but it hasn't been yet put into our bylaws. So we can't take it out of our bylaws. It doesn't exist there. We can recommend that it go into the general bylaws, and if the Board of Selectmen agree, they could put it in there.
So we went around and around on this one, and I think that's important. It's not in our current bylaws. It was in draft 8, which is where I found it originally.
Yep.
And so we decided it should go to general bylaws. So I hope we've already made that decision.
Mhm.
And then we went around and around on this question about how do we define it? And this is what we came up with. And I think Mary is correct that it's potentially leaves some gray area, but it's better than what we have now, which is nothing. And so if there's specific language we can insert to make it better, great. But I think otherwise I'd be in favor of kind of moving it along.
And that's fine. My concern is we don't put any parameters around it, right? Like we don't put timeframes, we don't put size, we don't put scale, we don't put, even with the storage of building and landscape materials, for the boats, we say, okay, it's got to be 5 feet. This would, we don't say anything. So to me, it's very vague. I think it's going to be problematic.
Again, I think it comes up when a neighbor complains and then the building inspector has a little bit of teeth to say, hey, that's commercial stuff, get it out of here, or something like that.
But we're saying it's allowed.
Well, as long as they don't
Provided-
create not visible and create a public nuisance, that's what we're allowing. It happens now all the time, and I think what we're doing is actually creating some oversight over what already happens. I think it's unlikely that people are going, when they see this, are going to start storing commercial material there that they wouldn't already have been doing. I think so it's not like it's going to encourage people to do it.
Oh, I agree with that. I'm just saying, and I don't have a situation like this, but I'm just saying it doesn't give an aggrieved neighbor much to stand on.
Okay, Laura?
Oh, yeah, hold on. Yeah, so it seems to me the first 3 bullets are describing commercial use. So I propose we put commercial in front of storage as one way to further define that. On the other hand, I do want to remind us all that we talked about hardware stores, like the Ace hardware store downtown.
Right.
And we had once had a clause in there that said, excluding retail establishment or the like. And so we got to put that back.
Right.
Because we want our town hardware stores. Retail.
That would be an unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
And then if you insert commercial ahead of storage, I hope this clarifies what we mean.
Okay, well, we may not all agree on this.
I think,
In a sense that this is maybe not perfect, but certainly an improvement. It's 8:48 and I would like to stop. I had promised 3 planning board nights in a row and so I'm trying to get someplace before 9 myself. So if people would like to continue, I can turn it over to you, but I think I'm going to sign off.
I agree with you, Sarah.
Chris,
I think it's been
Chris,
enough.
what do you need to say?
Chris is on mute.
What have we got left to do?
That's it. Finalize this one and we can do that Monday and finalize a couple of things, but
Okay.
if you have other comments, please send them to me. We can take them up. Editorial comments. Laura, do you have a comment?
Just a reminder that I cannot attend Monday's meeting, and somebody
Okay.
else, I don't know if it was Mary or Christina, we're not
Mary.
able to attend. Mary, are you not
Mary
able to
said
attend?
she.
So Mary,
I-
you're a very
my-
careful reader. Please give me your editorial comments.
Yeah, and I may be able to attend. My husband's having surgery, so it just depends how
Ooh,
out of it he is or not.
Oh, boy.
and just
Good luck
to
with that.
confirm, we're adequately posted for a continuation of this deliberation, or do we need to add that to the
It needs to be added to the
agenda, update the agenda? to
yeah,
add-
I hope she didn't post Sharon, you haven't posted the agenda yet, have you?
All right, I'm going to sign off.
I think she just signed off.
Oh, okay, so
I
then,
sent the comments. I sent that comment, Ron. So
okay, so,
All right.
all right, so I'd like to have a motion to continue the deliberation portion of the public hearing to Monday, May 23rd.
So moved. Second,
Roll call, Ms. Creighton,
yes.
Ms. Foley,
Yes.
Mr. Gilbert,
Yes.
Mr. Olney,
Yes.
and Ms. Tenney.
Yes,
And the chair votes yes. Okay, thanks. On Monday's agenda, we have a land, Sue, a land purchase to approve.
A land
And we-
taking. So you have a planner, a planning board report. There's a draft that is going to be going into the SharePoint file that explains it. So that's
So this is on the warrant for our meeting, so we need to act on it on Monday. Also, Sue, what about the edits to Cornerstone Church? They're pretty minor, but have they
Yeah,
been
they're
put
de
in the
minimis.
packet?
They're de minimis, and I am about to put it in the packet. I have a vote certificate that was prepared by Helene for that purpose, and I just
Okay.
need to fill in the blanks. We'll need to fill in a few more blanks.
Okay, so we
saying
can get
who
that into the
moved, et cetera.
packet for the,
That-
we
those
get
will
that
both
to
go
for
in the
board
packet.
members.
Yes,
Okay, and I understand we have no minutes and no correspondence, so,
Great.
okay. We've
All right.
adjourned. Thank you all.
Good night. Take care.
I.
Bye.
good luck. to
Good
your
luck on
husband, Mary.
Monday.
Thanks.